Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly, and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, I want to dive into the Bitcoin price chart and analyze some key factors that I'm seeing today. In our last video, we talked about the recent potential of a breakout of this recent downtrend that Bitcoin has been in, but in order to actually reverse, we needed to hold support. We're going to be revisiting some of that prior analysis. We're also going to be taking a look at the total market cap as a whole, seeing exactly where I think that we're going to be heading over the next couple weeks, and then finishing up with one of my favorite altcoin investments that I've been holding for over a year that I think is going to be setting up for some of the biggest profit potential over the next couple months. If you're new and you're just finding this channel, make sure you guys sign up for my Discord server. It's free. You guys can also download my free ebook and beginner's guide to crypto. Links are in the description, so go check it out. And with that being said, guys, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, so to start off, we're going to be diving into the Bitcoin price chart, and we're going to be actually talking about some of my prior analysis that I talked about last week. Now, what I talked to you guys about, I've analyzed a couple different things here. Now, the first thing I talked about was this descending resistance, and then the second thing we talked about was this level here at about $40,000. Now, for me guys, a level I think is going to be very important for us to watch for is going to be $40,000, because if we come over here and look at this line, we can see that this has been a very important level with a number of different attempts and reactions to this level. It's acted as resistance. It acted as a lot of resistance throughout this entire period of time inside of the short-term bear correction. We found our support at 29,000. Then we ended up flipping this level of support. We flipped it as support once again. And then even in this most recent correction that we saw here, this is us even coming back down close to that level once again. And so we can see that this has been a very important level. It's acted as support. It's acted as resistance. And now we're kind of at this point where we're in between. We're not really confirming which direction we're going to go, but we are at this point where we have actually made a short-term break from this descending resistance. Now, this isn't actually confirmed enough. We have to hold support here for this to be an actual confirmed reversal, but this is what we want to see in the early stages. We had this descending resistance. Every time we hit this level, we rejected and fell lower, and then we finally got a break outside of this level. And then we can see here, that's when we got this sell-off. This is where we were at in my last video. I drew this little green box and I said I would expect prices to fall around this green box if we're going to see a bounce. Prices pretty much rallied right down to that green box, and we've pretty much just been kind of consolidating sideways from that point. If we drive it into the shorter time frames, we are getting a little bit of a rejection here, but during these periods where you're getting a lot of sideways action, it's too hard to exactly say what direction the market's going to take. Even though we are looking like we're getting rejected here at resistance and we're falling lower, these sort of things can happen on the shorter time frames where we could see the price dip and then get bought up again, and then it could dip again and do the same thing. We can see these markets kind of go in and out of support and resistance frequently, and so that's why, as it stands right now, we don't have true confirmation. Yes, we are technically outside of the resistance, but we need to see support hold right here. And as it stands right now, with these red candles that are coming in here, it's looking a little bit less strong. And so we need to see some buyers starting to step in here if we are going to actually reverse this. Because if we end up selling back down, we could go for one more leg down. And that's the funny thing about breaks from descending resistances. A point that I want to make and make you guys really pay attention for is when you have a descending resistance and prices actually break outside of that, you can see a couple different things play out. So let's say this is our descending resistance. Let's say the prices rally up and it breaks out right here. Now you can have a couple scenarios play out where we get a breakout here, we pull back, and then we get continuation like that. That's the most likely scenario that plays out. Sometimes you'll get these scenarios that'll play out where it'll kind of correct back down and you'll think it's going to reverse. It might even bounce back up, but then it goes for one more low back down. And even though it goes for one more low, it still is a confirmed breakout, because if we draw a trend line here, and we draw it like right there, we can see that even though the price action went a lower low, we can see that we're still actually on support of the previous downtrend, right? And so even if the price action goes for one more lower low, maybe we come all the way back down to retest the bottom of this wick at about 42,500. It doesn't really change anything because these are scenarios that can play out. Inside of a breakout, you can see the price action make a lower low, but as long as it's still holding support above this previous descending resistance, and that previous descending resistance acts as support, then that would be a reversal, and we would expect to see this play out in the same fashion. It just might end up making one more lower low. And so these are scenarios that we need to pay attention for, and that's why I always tell you guys, during the points of chop, whenever we're in these periods where, you know, the market's just kind of going up and down, not really making a confirmed move one way or another, or in this case, we have had, you know, a higher high. We did break out of our major level that we're watching for at 40,000, but we're actually coming back down. We've had this 40% sell-off. We're at this point where historically 40% corrections have signaled, you know, reversal points inside of Bitcoin corrections. We've already hit that threshold. And so with us being at that 40%-esque threshold, with the price now being outside of the descending resistance, I still think it's a little bit more likely that this would hold, but you know, this is a scenario where we could go for one more lower low before that actually plays out. For me, the most important level that we're watching for is 40,000. If we break below this level, that's going to be very, very bad for the bulls. I would expect that most likely that would signal the next beginning of the bear market. But as it stands right now, I just don't think we're going to be breaking below that. I still foresee us having one more final rally to close out this cycle for Bitcoin. And this whole period has just been consolidation. I don't think that it really changes anything, you know. Bullish above 40,000, bearish below. That's what I'm going to continue to stick to. Overall, I still think that all of this produces one more final rally to close out the cycle. Now, what I want to talk to you guys quickly is the Bitcoin dominance. This is something I've been sharing with you guys a lot because I think it's really important. And where we're actually at right now, it looks like we could be at the breakdown. I mean, if we come down here and we actually line up the wicks, technically we're still within the support. And so we are getting very close to that point. I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a short-term bounce in here before going lower, but I don't think it changes the big picture trend. This was already in a downtrend, has been in a downtrend for years and years. It's always been in a downtrend. 2017, this big alt season that we saw, 2018 bear market saw the Bitcoin dominance rise back up. And then inside of this most recent cycle, we've been trending back down. We're pretty much at the all-time low support, and we're creating this descending triangle. In my opinion, this is just the perfect bearish continuation pattern that's going to send Bitcoin dominance into a new low. And you guys already know my targets have been 10 to 20% dominance, and I've had those targets since we were all the way up here in 2020. So this is what I'm personally watching for. I still think that this is going to break down. We could see a little bit of a relief bounce first, but I do believe that this is going to be breaking down and sending us into those all-time lows. I think that if we're going to see a blow off top in this cycle in the altcoins, it's going to be taking place in this next move. And so that's why I still think that even though we're extending later than 2021, we didn't top at the end of 2021 like I was watching for, it doesn't really change the bigger picture, because what we see here, we see the Bitcoin dominance is sitting at an all-time low inside of a bearish continuation pattern. Historically, because Bitcoin dominance is in this downtrend and has been, we would expect to see this go into another new all-time low, right? That's just the way downtrends are going to work. And so when we look at the likes of Bitcoin against Ethereum, or Ethereum against Bitcoin, I should say, it's looking like we're about to see a big breakout. And so these two charts are almost the exact same. They're really just the inverse. If we invert this chart, it just looks like the Ethereum BTC pair, right? And so we can see here that this is basically the altcoin dominance. The altcoins are just accumulating, just waiting to break out of this resistance. This resistance is pretty much us sitting right at those all-time highs, right? If we draw the line, this is us pretty much right at those all-time highs. The next breakout that takes place, even if we sell off and flip this level first, it's going to be creating the big one, I think. This is going to be the final blow off top of the cycle. That's my personal opinion. That's what I think is going to be playing out. I mean, we can look at that same thesis from a number of perspectives. If we drop it to a log chart, let's go to a weekly time frame with Bitcoin. Every single way I look at the chart, it just shows that we need one more pump, right? Even though the time frames didn't line up, I was wrong. By the end of the year, by the end of 2021, we would see the blow off top. I was wrong about that. But it gives me confidence in holding, even though my trading plan was wrong. I still have confidence being able to hold into 2022 because there's so many other factors that we can look at the Bitcoin chart and we can know that this thing still has some more room to go. And one of the ways that I like to look at that is actually Elliott wave theory. We know that we've had wave 1. We know that we've had wave 3. We finished wave 4's correction. And where we're at today, we haven't even, well, technically we did make a new all-time high, but I don't believe that we finished wave 5. We still have one more final move to go inside of this cycle. And so that's why I've still kind of stuck to my thesis that we'd still see $250,000 Bitcoin. I still think that that's not even unrealistic in the slightest. I still think that this is very valid. The only difference is our time frames are going to be a little bit inaccurate, right? Instead of us topping at the very end of 2021, we're going to be extending into quarter 1 of 2022. But the only reason I actually have confidence to hold through, even though it's deviated from my trading plan, I've always said that I was going to sell at the end of the year of 2021. The only reason I still have confidence enough to hold through that uncertain time is just because of so many other factors. One being the Elliott waves. We know that we need one more final push inside of this 5-wave, and we haven't really seen that yet inside of this most recent move. Even if you count the impulse all the way up to 69,000 as a new all-time high, I still don't think that the waves line up enough that this shows a completed 5-wave impulse. I still think we're going to see one more big push past the all-time highs. And not only that, but I mean, historically, if we've seen the price action of Bitcoin, no Bitcoin cycle has ever ended with price action that looks like this, right? It always ends in some type of a big parabolic move. This was a big parabolic move. This was a big parabolic move. Every cycle we've seen big parabolic moves. Even if we go back to 2013, you know, that final 5-wave could have been viewed as one of the smaller waves, but it was still very, very much vertical. It was just going straight up as far as the price action goes. That's something we haven't seen this cycle. And so maybe this cycle is different. Maybe we don't get the blow off top like we've seen in other cycles. But to be honest, I think that that's a reach. I don't think that that's realistic. I do believe that we will see a blow off top. This cycle really isn't that different from prior cycles. If anything, it's a little bit different because there is institutions. It's a little bit more volatile. There is a lot more new money flooding into the market from smarter places, being institutions that, you know, we see a lot more volatility. Even this upswing that we saw after COVID was one of the bigger ones we've ever seen inside of Bitcoin. And it comes where Bitcoin's market cap is way bigger than we've ever seen. So this cycle has been a little bit different. But when we just take the time to look from bear perspective of technical analysis, this is a chart that, in my opinion, still needs one more big catalyst before we actually finish the top of this. And so that's what I'm personally going to be watching out for with Bitcoin. And I don't think that we need to be selling until we see that type of a move. I think selling below 100,000 is foolish, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but at the end of the day, you know, it really doesn't matter because it's my own money if I lose. But I believe that we will see Bitcoin over $100,000 by the end of the cycle. I really don't want to sell below $100,000 because I think it's just, you know, not really smart to do so. I could be wrong, but this is my trading plan. I'm just telling you guys kind of what I see inside of the markets. And so this is what I'm seeing with Bitcoin. Now, I also want to talk to you guys about the total market cap because this is going to kind of play into some of our prior videos talking about the Bitcoin dominance and also just talking about the total market cap. Now, this was kind of a chart that I drew in the last video. I drew these diagonal resistance lines as a way to kind of map out, you know, if this is a true breakout or not, if we are actually going to reverse from this descending resistance and go back up again. This chart looks solid, but we're right in that point where we really have to bounce if we are actually going to be going up again. We can see that this was our descending resistance. We did actually break outside of both of these, and then we did sell back down. And we have, you know, technically held support above this line. This is what we've wanted to see. You know, it's not always going to be so perfect. We do see some candlesticks that go outside of this. But as a rule of thumb, we are holding support above this level. So what we want to see here moving forward, even if the price goes down a little bit lower, it doesn't necessarily matter. We want to see is price hold above this level about right here. This support cluster that we're in right now, we do want to see support hold here and do something along the lines of that. That's what we would like to see. This is going to be the most bullish scenario for the total market cap. And if this actually is a true trend reversal, then that's what we would expect to see. Something along the lines of this, where this descending resistance turns into support, and then that's where we get our trend reversal. Because the cool thing about this point in the cycle, guys, is even though we are in these short-term corrections, I do believe that we are very close to finding the bottom. I am leaning towards the bottom already being in based off the last couple weeks, just us breaking out. I'll obviously have to update you guys as follows, but I still don't think that we've seen a true catalyst to a cycle top. I just don't think that the price action is lined up with that. You know, a lot of people have called for the cycle top, and what I've seen is actually a lot of people calling for the cycle top are getting a lot of positive feedback. And I want you guys to remember that when you call for the cycle top, it should be coming at a point where nobody actually thinks the market's bearish, right? If you call for a cycle top and then everybody's in your comments thinking that you're right, chances are you're going to be wrong, because as a rule of thumb, the average person in the market is going to do the opposite of what the market actually is going to end up doing. So in this case, if we're at a blow off top, 90% of everybody in the market is going to be wanting to buy. They're not going to be wanting to sell. And so now we're at this point where we've had a couple corrections. A lot of people are scared. There's still a lot of fear in the market. You know, a lot of people have called for the bear market. A lot of those people are getting a lot of positive feedback from their community. And that's just not that I think that they're stupid or anything. I just think that that is a sign that shows that we're not quite there yet, right? I remember in the last cycle, I saw a lot of traders that I personally respected a lot. They came out, they called for the cycle top, they announced that they were selling all of their crypto. That was back here close towards the very top of the 2017 cycle. And they came out and openly stated that they were selling. I remember seeing all of their comments under their posts just filled with hate. People calling them stupid, people calling them, whatever, all these names for not being able to hold. And it was actually really toxic. And that was one of the things I remember watching in that last cycle, because I was one of those people being toxic. I was one of those people thinking that everybody else was stupid for wanting to sell. And sure enough, that was the top of the cycle. And so we're at this point again where we're getting close. We're knowing that as far as our trading plan goes, we're at the point where we should be looking to take profits. This is the latter point of the cycle. I don't believe that we're at that point quite yet. I still think we need some more upside. But during that final push, that's where we're going to see the flip in psychology change from people that begin to take profits when the markets are going up. They're going to be looked at as idiots for actually taking profits. The people that are telling their communities to sell right now, and they're getting a lot of positive feedback from that, in my opinion, that is a big signal that says that we're still a little bit too early. If the average of your community is supporting you on taking profits, chances are that's not the right time to take profits. When you want to take profits is when everybody's telling you you're an idiot for doing so. And this is something I've seen a lot inside of this cycle. We don't even have to look at 2017, even towards the top of this most recent correction that we saw here. I remember seeing people saying that they were going to start selling, and a lot of people were jumping on their backs, calling them idiots for the same thing. So guys, this is kind of the way psychology works inside of a market. During the point where you should actually be wanting to sell should be the point where everybody else is telling you it's such a terrible time to be selling. If you tell everybody it's time to sell and everybody tells you that you're a genius and that you're right, chances are that's not the right time to sell either. So these are just thoughts and perspectives I wanted to give you guys. Wanted to summarize some thoughts with this chart. Wanted to give you guys some updates inside of Bitcoin. Overall, I still think that we're going to end up reversing. We need to hold support where we're at roughly today, tomorrow, whatever. But there's a number of charts that just look really bullish for altcoins. And so because the altcoins look bullish, because, ETH BTC really hasn't made a big breakout as indicated by this chart yet, I still think that we're going to see that big breakout coming. And it makes sense to me that the market's not going to be bearish because there's so many other charts that actually look really bullish. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you found value in this, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos. If you guys want to join the Discord server, download my free ebook. Links are going to be provided for you in the description for that. Thank you guys so much for the support. I appreciate each and every single one of you. And you guys can find everything that you guys want, social media, private Discord groups, all of that fun stuff in the description. Check it out. I look forward to seeing you guys in there. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.